If there was one thing the world was asking for, it was for one more podcast about CrossFit. Well, here we are anyways. This is the Silverback Media Podcast, where we share the stories of the everyday CrossFitter, so that more people are encouraged and empowered to try it themselves. Here's your host and everyday CrossFitter, Marco Mejia.
You can't take a helicopter to the top of the mountain. There's only one way up the mountain, and it's one step at a time. And that's a quote from my guest today, Jeff Cooper. He is a member at CrossFit Xtra Mile in St. Louis, which is where I used to coach and where I got a chance to meet Jeff, work with Jeff, be a member in class with Jeff as well. He's been a member there for over 11 years. He is the self-proclaimed, probably actually proclaimed, hall monitor of the 6:30 a.m. class. We joke about that, but we also talk about how that feeds into the community side of what makes CrossFit so beneficial. But winding back, we talk about Jeff's upbringing, how he got into, or how he kind of lost track of his health and his wellness, getting into college, after college, how he started focusing on his health and wellness, getting more into, call it, challenge culture, doing weight loss challenges, losing a bunch of weight, adding it back on, losing, gaining, getting into that cycle. And then we hit the moment where he has that, as he calls it, the line in the sand moment for him, where he decided, I'm going to really take control of this. He walked into a CrossFit gym, which was CrossFit Xtra Mile, and the rest is history. This is an absolutely great episode. Thank Jeff for coming on, for sharing his experience, for sharing his wisdom, sharing his knowledge with us. And we have a great conversation that goes all across the board in terms of how CrossFit is beneficial, how it's beneficial on its own from the exercise and the community perspective, but beyond that, how it's beneficial for us outside of the four walls of the gym and in the other areas of our life, whether it's work, whether it's family, whatever you call it, how the things that we work on inside the gym benefit us and help us outside the gym, which in my mind is ultimately more important, but I'll let you listen for yourself and you could hear it directly from Jeff on how that works. Jeff is also a coach himself. We talk about how you can get it connected with him on either Instagram or on his website on iamlargerthanlife.com. So feel free to connect with Jeff. He's a great follow on Instagram, great story. And that's enough from me. Remember, follow the show here on Apple, follow on Spotify. If you want to watch Jeff, go subscribe on YouTube. Do all the things that help the robots be happy with us and, give us one more day of not getting taken over. I joke, but do the stuff for the robots. All right, enough from me. That is 10 down, 10,000 to go. Let's go talk to Jeff Cooper.
All right, we're live. Jeff Cooper, the mayor, mayor of the 6:30 a.m. class at CrossFit Xtra Mile. Self-proclaimed.
Also, I call myself the hall monitor now. I have a shirt that says hall monitor.
Are you checking out on people, like if they're not showing up to class someday?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
If you don't show up to class, you're getting a video message from me, customized directly for you, asking if you're, in a ditch, if you're hungover, or you hit the snooze button too many times. Like, I'll see you tomorrow. Let's go.
And it's so fun. And this has come up on a few of the episodes that have been published or that I have recorded, right? Is that's where like the community aspect, that's like one of the common themes is, you start going at a consistent time to a CrossFit gym, you find that core group of people that are just there each and every day, right? Or as often as they go. And it's this cool self-positive reinforcement, right? Where like you said, if you miss a day, you miss a couple days, that core group, they're like, hey, has anybody heard from them? Is everything okay? Like what's going on, right? And so it helps to start off and set that accountability. So I like that you take on that role for yourself as like you said, the hall monitor, to make sure you're checking in on those people, see where they're at.
Yeah, that's the great thing. Who wants to wake up in the morning and go work out? I don't know. Maybe some people do, but I don't particularly want to, but what I want to do is I want to go see my people. I want to go see my 6:30 crew. I want to bust their chops. I want to have fun with them, see what happened over the weekend. In the middle of all that, we get a darn workout in. And after you get in it for a few minutes, then, your system gets going and you're ready to roll.
That's right. Yeah, it's basically social. Here, let me change one thing really quick and make sure. There we go. Now I got a side by side. I feel like that's going to end up better. Yeah. It's the social hour aspect, right? Like you see your people, you get to, you get some friendly trash talk. You get to check in with everybody. Hey, how's it going? Hey, what do you got coming up this weekend? What'd you do last weekend? Right? We got we're recording this now on July 3rd, right? So we're going into the holiday weekend. You get to see what people are up to, right? Who's going to the lake for you guys in St. Louis,
Right.
and just hear about people's lives, right? And get to connect with people that you don't get that feeling in your everyday Globo gym, right? Everybody's in there with headphones on, listening to whatever they're doing, trying to probably have the least amount of interaction with other people as possible. And that's just not that's not what you're going to get in a CrossFit gym. You're going to have that community component.
That's right. You walk into a Planet Fitness, how many people's names do you know? Maybe
Yeah,
nobody. You walk into my gym, the gym you used to go to when you came in here in St. Louis, everybody knows everybody by name and by story. And, I think our gym takes it to another level. From looking at your guys' gym, it looks like you guys do too. But I think that's something that CrossFit just, I don't know, they have the secret sauce to that. You could call it a cult, you call it whatever you want. But if the cult gets me fit and gets me connected to people. I looked on my Facebook friend list the other day. I don't know what happened, but I have like 130 friends on my Facebook. I don't have a huge Facebook list or group of friends, but I have 130 of them that have originated from the gym. How does that happen? And what's crazy about this is that I go to classes with grandmas. I go to classes with doctors, ditch diggers, electricians, left, right, straight, gay. We don't care. We're there to have an amazing workout and just have the best hour of our day. Where else on earth are you going to get that? I don't think anywhere.
No, I don't. It's to your point, right? And kind of going back to what you're saying before, and Xtra Mile does it. I know we do it as well. Pride ourselves from a coaching perspective. Somebody walks through the door, you're greeting them by name. How many places are you going? How many places do anybody listen to this? Do you have outside of your house, right? Where you walk in somewhere and you're getting greeted by name, and basically like, hey, we're happy to have you here. Come on in, let's party, right? Let's throw down. Like, so, and it doesn't matter if you're willing to walk through that door, you're gonna get a greeting, you're gonna get everybody giving you a high five saying, hey, we're happy to see you, and let's go do the darn thing, and then we'll do it again tomorrow. So it's absolutely awesome, right? And so now were you gonna say something else?
I was just going to say, for the average person like us, you walk into a Globo gym and you haven't worked out, and since maybe high school or college or something, it's a little scary. And it's a little scary walking into a CrossFit gym too, But if somebody's got the kahunas to walk into a gym, like, I view it as my job, and I know you view it as your job, and the coach's job is immediately when you see that person, like, I take it as personal responsibility to make that person feel comfortable, make sure they know their way around the gym, because it's like my mission in life is to help people, and I know yours is too. And give me more opportunities to help people, I'm on it, baby.
Absolutely. Like I was so an episode that'll come out probably a couple weeks before this one was with one of the owners of our gym. We were talking about it's in our best interest to make sure that you feel welcome and have a good experience, because then you're going to come back, right? Even if you just did step back and think about it business wise, right? From a business perspective, it's in the gym's best interest for you to come back and keep having a good time and keep getting results, right? So if you're walking in and you're not getting the warm and fuzzies, you're not getting the welcome experience, right? People aren't reaching out to you. Hey, how's it going? What's your background? What's your name? Whatever, right? Like, that may not be the place for you, but that doesn't mean CrossFit isn't for you. Like, go find a place where that has, because they're there, they're out there. I mean, we're talking about two gyms, right? That we've been a part of, mine currently where I'm at CrossFit North Scottsdale, and also at Xtra Mile where I was before, where you are now, where that's deep seated in there, right? It's like you walk in, somebody's going to say your name, they're going to smile at you, give you a high five, and they want you to come back. They want you to come back. So with that, let's get into your story. We rabbit holed there pretty quickly. All right, I want to hear about Jeff, and I'm embarrassed to say I know you have a big story, and I was realizing it as we were messaging, lining this up. I don't really know much about it, so this is going to be an awesome surprise for me to kind of learn your backstory for as many classes that I got a chance to coach you in the gym. So to actually hear the background and how you got to this point. So I want to hear about a young Jeffrey, a young Jeff.
Oh boy, yeah.
Young
Jeffrey.
Were you athletic? Did you have were you active, moving around in sports, or were you just a troublemaker running around the neighborhood?
I was a troublemaker running around the neighborhood, but my sport was baseball, much like yours. And I was 6'4", 3 in 5th grade. I was tall and I had a flaming fastball, and
Mhm.
I was pretty dang good until everybody else caught up to me in high school. And then I was just mediocre. So then you go to college. So I would categorize myself as thin, and you would look at me, you wouldn't say I was athletic, but go to college and start gaining 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there. You get married right after college. Nothing special happened in my life. Just gain another 5 pounds, gain another 5 pounds the next year. And before you know it, I'm 50 pounds overweight. Oh, wait, we have a weight loss contest at work. This is great. I'm going to starve myself for 90 days. I'm going to lose a whole bunch of weight. I'm going to win that weight loss contest and get the whole pot of money. This is great. I win. I don't know if there's a weight loss contest I haven't won. That was my life from like 30 to 40. And
30 to 40.
I repeated that cycle probably 5 times.
Yeah.
Get up to 240, starve myself, get down to 190, win some
Yeah.
money, go to the Chinese buffet, live at the Chinese buffet and McDonald's, get back up to 240. Oh, wait, next year's here. Let's do this again. And it was a terrible, terrible cycle
Yeah.
that so many people find themselves in, up, down, yo-yo, restrict, and, it's a tough way to live long term.
Okay. And you said that was from 30 to 40, but let's kind of back up to like you mentioned even college and kind of that little bit of time after college, right? Leading up to that point where you found yourself in that the yo-yo back and forth. Was there any kind of like fitness component? Were you working out? Were you active at all? Or was it just like, hey, we're having a good time? And little by little, the creep of, some downward habits just caught up to you. And all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're like, oh boy, what happened here? Was there any thought about that? Or was it literally just like a, hey, lack of intention, you're, out of college, freshly married and enjoying
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. I would say I lost fitness. I lost health. Had kids, and you start chasing them around, and you're going to dance class and karate class, and just basically sitting on my butt, you know.
Yeah.
Um, there was nothing special that happened in those years other than, just life, married, kids,
Yeah.
uh, job, new career, straight out of college, and going out to eat every single day at lunch with colleagues. And, you know, you blink
Yeah.
your eyes and all of a sudden, holy cow, I just gained 20 pounds this year.
Yeah. You're like, where did that come from? Right.
Yeah.
So did you have a moment? So like now, kind of fast forward back to like that 30 to 40 when you start having that weight loss challenge. Was there a moment for you um that maybe something happened and you're like, oh boy, I used to be able to do that? Or you saw to look at yourself, you saw a picture of yourself or something like, was there a moment where it hit you where you're like, I gotta do something different?
Yes. I had a huge moment in my life where I drew a line in the sand. And I had previously drawn a line in the sand so many times, but it never stuck. But this time did. And it starts with a tub of ice cream in my lap with a spoon, and I'm eating the whole entire pint of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, watching extreme weight loss on TV. Just like I had done so many other times. You watch Biggest Loser, you watch some of these shows, and we used to make a joke. Here I am sitting on the couch. It was either a bag of potato chips or it was a whole tub of ice cream. And this one particular issue or this one particular episode hit me like no others. And it's Bruce Pitcher, who's now, like my business partner in our coaching company. That is what inspired me to say no more. His story is so inspirational. If you haven't watched it, it is worth your time to go. I don't know what episode it is, but just Bruce Pitcher, extreme weight loss. It will move you like no other. That guy has a story. I'll put him up on against Tony Robbins giving a speech. It is that good. That is what inspired me to get up off my butt. And I walked into CrossFit Xtra Mile the very next day. On my way home from work, I had my suit and tie on, and I'm like wearing a size 38 pant. I should have been wearing a size 42. And when I'm at work, I'm sucking in all the time. I have to give a presentation to somebody. I'm out of breath. I'm chasing my kids around. I'm out of breath. And it was just everything came together. And I said, I am sick and tired of this. I'm done. I'm done. I'm doing it this time. I walked in there. I looked like a fish out of water. People are climbing these ropes and all this stuff. And somebody came up to me and started talking to me, who now I know was a coach there. And just asked me questions. And I'm like, I'm ready. Like, can I start this today? And so I got plugged into that community. The reason why I showed up is because of two people in the morning. There was a guy named Tim, and there was a guy named Russ. I showed up because I connected with those guys. We had a good time in the morning. I guess I showed up because I wanted to work out, but that's seeing those guys in the mornings what made me want to go there. And my first year, I lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
And I've never looked back.
That's awesome.
So that was 11 years ago. And, it hasn't been perfect since then. But, I've been pretty dang good and dialed from if 6 days a week, I'm going to CrossFit Xtra Mile.
Yeah.
That's just, I used to give an analogy of brushing your teeth. And I forget exactly what it was, but it's basically you just brush your teeth every day. Yeah, that's just what you do because it's so ingrained. It's part of your foundation for your life. You wake up and you brush your teeth. I don't, that you could tell that story better because that was your story, but that's how I view my fitness foundation. And, when the storms of life come along, my foundation is strong. I'm still showing up 6 days a week, no matter what is happening, because I don't know. Somehow I've made it like I'm brushing my teeth just because I guess I've done it so much, or I don't know. So
and I've seen you through a couple of those, right? Where like you got a nagging injury or something like that. You're showing up now. For clarity, the way you're approaching the workouts during those seasons might change, but that doesn't mean you're not showing up, right? Weight might be coming down. The skill level, you might be changing it because you're accounting for the fact that, hey, I'm either stressed out or I got something bugging my shoulder or my back's feeling a little tight or something like that. But you're still there. You're still there, and you're working with the coaches to find a way to still get that benefit and still get a good workout in. That's not going to make anything worse because you are taking into account the fact that, like, hey, I'm in a kind of a rough season of life right now, regardless of what that is and what that looks like, right? But you're still there, and you've built everything around that. Yeah, the toothbrush thing is a great point. That's like a good one from a rebounding and consistency perspective that we use for the nutrition side, right? It's like, hey, if you forgot to brush your teeth at night, on a random day or a random night or something like that, right? The next morning, you're not waking up and scheduling an emergency cleaning with your dentist, right? You just wake up and you're like, darn it, let me just go brush my teeth and go on about my day. And it's like the same thing still applies. If something were to come up, you miss a workout, you miss a day, that doesn't mean, the world isn't falling down, the sky isn't falling, right? You just say, hey, the next day after that, you show back up, you get back into the habit, and you keep going on about your day, right? Yeah. So and I'm sure you've probably had times like that over the course of 11 years, right? You've built your schedule to be 6 days a week. I'm sure there's been some times where either an alarm didn't go off, something came up, and you're like, oh crap, I got to miss because something happens. But to your point, you're not throwing the journey out the window because you missed a day. You're like, cool, that happened that one time. Let me see if I can figure out something to make sure that thing doesn't happen again. But then the day after, I'm right back to it, right back on the journey.
Exactly right. And over those 11 years, my style or my goals have changed a whole lot. When I first started for, I don't know, I'm going to make this up, first 5 years, when it was PR day, like I was going after a PR. Like I wanted to try and get strong. I wanted to, get as much overhead as possible. and I'm not like strong, but I'm competing against myself. And I know we're supposed to say it's me against me, and it is. But there are, I mean, some people don't say this out loud, but I'm going to say it out loud. There are people in class that you just pay attention to, you chase after. There's some young bucks in class that, I'm 53 years old. There's some young bucks in class that we go head to head. There's some other people that we're pretty close. So, I want to whoop those people.
Yeah, you want
I
to
know I'm
show them. You
no,
want to show them what's up. You want to show them like, hey, I
yeah,
still got it. Don't look at me.
I'm not supposed to say that because CrossFit is for anyone.
Yeah.
I'm working right next to a grandma in the very next square. And we're doing the exact same workout, and she's freaking crushing it, just like I am. She might have 75 pounds on the bar, and I might have 135 pounds on the bar, but we're doing the exact same thing, working hard, just trying to crush life in our own way. So,
Yeah. That's the beautiful, like the friendly competitive aspect of it, right? It's like everybody's in there, you're all pushing each other. Like you said, you're not outwardly gonna look at that grandma and be like, Grandma, I'm toasting you right now, right? Like you're not, you're gonna support the grandma, whoever it is who's next to them. You're gonna cheer them on. You want them to do well. And also in your mind, you're like, I'm trying to push myself to make sure I beat them too. Right. But
yeah,
it's still rooted in that support and rooted in that, like, we're all getting better together. Right. This individual workout, who wins this individual workout, doesn't really matter. We're all pushing ourselves and we're all going to support each other through it. But secretly, I do want to be. I actually
yeah,
just came from a workout where me and there was another coach in the class, and it was a workout that was really good for both of us. And I'm like, we're going on this, right? Like, secretly we looked at each other right before. So I was like, this time we're going for it. So, but that's the fun aspect. Right?
hopefully
That's
there's
the fun part.
hopefully there's no IVs involved or anything like that. You got a history of doing that sort of thing.
No, why you got to do that? I just actually I did talk to Dan. So his episode will come up before this, and that was where we started. We started talking about 24.1, and man, yeah, I never want to have that experience again.
Yeah,
that was we joked that I won that workout, but he won the experience overall.
for
He didn't
sure,
have to
for
get hooked up
sure.
to an IV. I want to go back.
Speaking of
Oh
that,
yeah, go
Marco,
ahead.
just real quick,
Yeah.
in seasons of life of working out, it's
Mhm.
for me, the last several years, my workout philosophy, my workout goals has been so much different.
Mhm.
No longer do I chase trying to lift as heavy as possible. Right now, 53 years old, I feel like I can, hang with young kids still, but my goal is to stay in the game. And
Mhm.
I want to do this for as long as possible. And so no longer am I, trying to lift the bazillion pounds. I'm only trying to lift 1,000,000 pounds. Um, you know, uh, Staying in the game. Like I see, you're way younger than me, but I'm 30 years, 30 plus years removed from high school.
Mhm.
You see, is CrossFit good for old people like me? Here's a story.
Mhm.
You see people that you go to high school with 30 plus years ago on Facebook and stuff. You look at them and you're like, my gosh, is that person 100 years old? Or, uh, this is going to sound really bad, but man, they look really unhealthy. Um, you know, uh, my parents, my mom had a health scare. You got to be able to push yourself up off the toilet in order to go potty, you know?
Mhm.
And so, uh, especially, you're 50 years old, 60 years old, being able to move and do whatever you want to do physically. There is nothing in life that can stop me from doing what I want to do. On my 52nd birthday, I ran 52 miles around a track, one lap at a time. Why did you do
Yeah.
that? Because I can. And because I'm just stubborn and dumb and wanted to try and do something hard. Uh, I don't know too many other people that I graduated high school with that could do that. But I want to be able to do that when I'm 62 or 72, or go not let life. life is amazing. I want to live all the stuff that other people can't do because they can't climb a mountain, or, I don't want to be limited by anything in life physically. So that's
Did
my whole
you,
goal for doing all this now.
so going back to taking that thought process, thinking back to like the version of you kind of in that 20 to 30-year-old range. Um, do you remember moments where you felt like those things were, standing in your way, your lack of health in that period of time where you're like, man, I really wish I could do this thing and I'm not able to. And obviously at that point, right, you maybe hadn't made the connection between not being able to do that thing and, fitness and exercise and things like that. But thinking back on moments like that, do you remember a moment like that where you're like, man, I really wish I could do this thing now, and I can't, that you are able to do now?
Yeah, a couple things come straight to mind. Number one, uh, chasing my kids around. I was so out of shape. My clothes were so tight. My gut was so hanging over. I would breathe heavy walking upstairs, like chasing my kids around. I limited myself because I couldn't. This is sad to say, but I couldn't be the dad that I should have been, at least from a physical perspective. I see, I admire you because you're running around the living room throwing kids in the air and doing all the stuff. And I guess I probably did some of that stuff, but I probably pulled a muscle while I did it, you know. And secondarily,
Yeah.
after I graduated college, you play on the guy's softball team, at the CPA firm I started with. We had a softball team, and I used to be pretty good as a kid. And then, you think you're still good in your brain,
Yeah.
but you're not. And that's super humbling, trying to run around the bases or, you
Yeah.
know,
That
great.
was one of the that specific example, like a slow pitch one, was one that got me back into CrossFit after college. I'd done it for a little bit in college with my dad, funny enough. And then after college, similar thing. I was like in the gym. I was actually doing more like powerlifting style stuff, but just no cardio, none of that. And I went to play slow pitch, and I remember I got a hit. I ran to second base, and I was winded as I could ever remember. And I was like that. I ran like 150 feet. Like that's not that far. I shouldn't be this winded. This is ridiculous. That was
Yeah.
kind of one of those moments for me that gave me that push. Like to your point of like, all right, something's got to change here because I can't be spending this much, as much time in the gym as I was at that point and going as often as I was and not be able to run from home plate to second base on a slow pitch field, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's moments like that that give you that reality check. And even thinking about that, so you mentioned something that watching Bruce's story was the kind of moment for you that set you on the path, and you're like, all right, no more line in the sand. But you had also mentioned that there were other instances where you had tried to do that before that one, before seeing Bruce's story, where you had thought, okay, this is the line in the sand, but maybe it didn't quite stick. What was different about maybe those earlier experiences compared to the one that you heard with Bruce? And I'm not necessarily saying that, asking you to tell his story for him, right? And I did write that down because I do want to go listen to that. But for you, what was different about his story compared to the ones you had heard before that you felt like really, really made it stick, and for you really felt made it a firmer line in the sand?
Yeah. Uh, the earlier attempts, they were honestly just attempts to like make money. they, it wasn't really, hey, I need to get healthy type of thing. I had the totally wrong attitude, the wrong outlook on, it wasn't about getting healthy those first dozen times probably. Um, you know, that our outlook on this, I think is so important. It's not about losing weight in 5 seconds. It's about, this isn't a 100-yard dash. It's not even a marathon because that's over in 26 miles. This is for the rest of our life, and building sustainable habits that can endure the storms of life that are going to come
Yeah.
is what it's all about. And, you have different pillars and all that, your health, your fitness pillar, maybe you've got a nutrition or health type pillar, you might have a spiritual pillar, you might have a relationship pillar, all those things. It's just uh, getting those locked in for the long haul, because you work hard, you lose 50 pounds that first year like I did, or whatever anybody else's story is. We don't just get to stop doing all the things that got us there. I wish it was that stinking easy, but it's not. Still got to fight like mad.
Yes.
And so when Bruce's story, I got off track there. Sorry. When Bruce's story was, when I watched it, like this guy, I'm not going to give it away because it is probably the most inspirational story I have ever seen. And I'm not even being dramatic. It is amazing. And I'm sitting there thinking, if that guy can do this, what's my issue? That guy was 400 something pounds, worked his butt off like crazy. And through all of those trials and tribulations that he has going on in his life, like here I am. I grew up like Leave It to Beaver. My mom and dad were June and Ward Cleaver, and I got made fun of for that, and that's okay. I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate that I grew up in the household. I had a sister that was, a pain in the butt, but if we had to deal with that, her beating me up every day. But what I have no excuses for not being the best husband, the best dad, the best, insert whatever in the middle of all that. And that's what really just made me go. That's what made me actually get started.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think what kept me going is the community of people that I met along the way.
Yeah.
That were rooting for me. They were rooting for me. Like maybe I wasn't even rooting for myself, but they're like, Cooper, come on, get up that rope. I'm like, oh,
like, oh boy,
yeah,
like that's up there. Do you have
yeah.
an early experience like that once you started CrossFit? I know you mentioned there was Tim and Russ that were kind of that core group that you would got along with when you first started. Do you remember a moment like that early on where maybe it was those guys, maybe it was somebody else, or an experience that you had where you're like, man, this is different. Like this whole community aspect is really what pulls this whole thing together. So I feel like similar to seeing the Bruce story was your moment, your line in the sand for like, I've got to make a change and I've got to build these habits and get started on the right path. Did you have a moment after joining Xtra Mile and starting CrossFit where you were like, this is my thing and I'm in. I drank the Kool-Aid. This is it.
Yeah. I started off with my membership being 3 times a month or 3 times a week.
Okay.
Three times a week.
Like 3 times a month, man. That's a good deal.
I started off going 3 times a week, but then, there was just something about it. I think it was maybe the competitiveness, the camaraderie, something. So then I would start going 4 times a week, and I would like borrow one of the sessions from the following week. And then my membership would expire. Like I go in to check in and my membership was already expired because I started using too many memberships, and so they would reset it in to, start it early. I don't know if that doesn't really answer your question. I don't know if there is really like a one specific moment. It was just getting locked in to the community. I don't think this life in general is meant. I know everybody's different, but I don't think this life is meant to be done by ourselves. And especially, I don't believe, or I think the regular person will be more successful doing their health and fitness journey with other people and not
I agree.
trying to go at, like you asked me to go into Planet Fitness. and work out by myself, I guess I could do it. I might show up, I might not. But that's like, chalk or fingernails on a chalkboard. I don't want to go do that on my own. I need to be around other people. I need to be uh, suffering with other people and going through it together, you know?
Yeah, there's something beautiful about getting through a class. You're sweating, you're breathing heavy, it's uncomfortable, but you made it, and you're looking around and you're like, all right, I'm around a group of people that all just did the same thing. We're all gonna fist bump, we're all gonna high five, say good job, and you're like, yes, that was awesome, that was great. So it just sets you up for the rest of the day, you know.
Yeah. And then you say, yeah, we pay money for this stuff. What on earth are we doing? I mean, I'll see you tomorrow.
Look, I guess I'm doing this is by choice, right? I'm putting myself through this on purpose. How did so you mentioned so you got started first year, lose 50 pounds over the course of that year. I'm sure it was probably just all, cupcakes and rainbows. It was super easy when you first got started. And you just like started showing. Obviously, I asked that,
No.
that tongue in cheek, right? How long do you feel like, and obviously the results show for itself now, but looking back on it, how long do you feel like it took you to really get one adjusted to what even is happening in class, right? Like the word, the terminology, like what the coach is even talking about. Before you're like, all right, I feel like I'm kind of comfortable. I found my groove. I understand what's going on. I'm starting to piece together some of these movements. How long do you feel like it was before that started coming together for you?
Yeah. So that's the one thing. If you're a newbie at CrossFit, we have all these names and acronyms, and you're you're not going to understand what they mean right away, and that's okay. That's 100% normal. I mean, it takes a while, 6 months, maybe a year. I don't know. I mean, it's not something that you're going to be an expert at in 30 days. Or, I'm not an expert at any of the stuff 11 years later, but you definitely feel like maybe you don't fully know what's going on for the first month or two. Wait, snatch, which one is that again? Type of thing, Wait, a jerk, what a push jerk, do I bend my knees on that one or not? You know, eventually comes. And that's
Yeah,
the
when
great
you
thing. That's the great
go ahead.
thing. In gyms like ours, and I think probably most CrossFit gyms, you got somebody standing right next to you. Coach might be on the other side of the gym helping somebody else out. The people want to help you succeed in your
Yeah.
journey. And you ask Bob, who's standing next to you, hey, help me with this thing, will you? And Bob is going to go out of his way to help you and wants to help. It's amazing.
And this has been a common theme across all the people that I've talked to, which is so cool to hear. And I want to reiterate this point. If you go to a CrossFit gym and that experience that Jeff just described does not happen, right? If you're looking around and you're like, man, I don't quite know what's going on, and you ask the person next to you and they shrug you off or don't help you, that's not a reflection of CrossFit as a whole. That just means for whatever reason, that place, maybe it's just that person doesn't share that same sentiment that we just talked about. Try a different CrossFit gym. Try a few. Keep trying until you find one that has that, because they're out there. And if you find that one, goodness gracious, it's gonna be a game changer. It's a game changer for you. And I feel like it's the majority of them. Um, just like anything else, there's probably some out there that aren't great. And that's something that happens with any population of something, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have that one bad experience, that's not reflective of all of them, right? So keep trying, keep finding them. If you're in St. Louis, go to the 6:30 a.m. class with Jeff at CrossFit Xtra Mile. You'll find him there. You'll get some help that way.
Right. That
So
you just reminded me of something that
yeah.
I've forgotten. I went to a different gym first. I went to a
Oh,
different
really?
CrossFit gym first. Uh, I walked in there because this gym I'm talking about was closer to my house.
Mm.
I walked in there with the same suit. Walked in, watched. The class was going on. I probably watched for 20 minutes. Not one person acknowledged me. The coach didn't say, "Hey, no, I'll come over in a second." And I don't have anybody here to help you now, but I'll talk with you for 30 seconds. Nothing. nothing happened. I ended up walking. I'm ready to give you my however much money a month. I ended up walking out of that gym.
Yeah.
And I marched my butt over to the next closest one to me. I just got lucky. I don't know. And, signed up right away. And the rest is history. So, yeah, it's up to us to create our surroundings. It's stuff. This isn't going to magically happen in life. It's on us to create that environment. And I take that really personally in my 6:30 a.m. class. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, you want to set the foundation. You want to build an environment that people want to be a part of. Want to be,
yeah,
you want it to be welcoming. That's not to say CrossFit's easy. I'm not saying that, right? It's not easy. It's a challenge, but you want people to feel like, all right, I want to be a part of that challenge because this group of people that I'm doing it with are a good group that I want to be around and I want to go through it with them, right? And we're all moving forward together. Did you have had you heard about CrossFit at all before you kind of first went into that other gym? Had you heard anything about CrossFit before that?
no, vaguely. I probably saw some of the crazy stuff on TV,
Yeah.
but not or in. If you're new to CrossFit and you see the stuff on TV, boy, isn't that amazing? Those people are incredible.
Yeah.
But I'm probably not going to say this right. You might yell at me, but that's not what CrossFit's all about. CrossFit that's for like the top 1%. What CrossFit is you, your neighbor, the nurse that works at the hospital down the street, the ditch digger that's, getting ready for a shift. That's what it's about. It's about normal, regular, everyday people coming together, fighting hard in the trenches every morning or afternoon, and trying hard to get better at life. And, you don't have to be flying around on a rig like they do on TV because, maybe you'll get good. Marco's gotten pretty dang good at this thing. He can fly around on some stuff. It took me 7 years to get my first bar muscle up.
Mhm.
7 years. Uh,
Okay, and not just to 7 years. You're 53 now. You've been doing this for 11 years. You were 49 when you got your first bar muscle up. I think that math
thereabouts.
checks out, right? You're a financial guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, call it around there, right? And I do that for the person that might be listening to this that's around that age range who's thinking, oh, it's too late for me. I've already gone this far. I haven't started yet. I won't be able to do that, right? I'm past 40 or whatever, right? What it was saying things go downhill after 40. Now, granted, things change, right? You got to account for that. But I say that to say, like, you know, you started what I don't know if people would call that late, so to speak, but you still have 11 years in the game of progress and benefit that you were able to, to accumulate over that period of time and be able to, then 7 years later, 7 years of work and practice, be able to get a bar muscle up, which is not an easy thing to do, right? For anybody. And putting in that practice over that period of time, like so tell me that because I feel like that any of those high skill gymnastics ones, when someone gets one for the first time, man, that's just like that the rest of your day is just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've never felt this before. Like tell me about that experience for you.
Oh, yeah. When you show up to class and it's time to practice drills on bar muscle ups and you don't have them and you're nowhere close to having them and you do all the stuff, and you're just kind of going through the motions because you're never going to get one. I mean, that was me for 7 years, or maybe 6.5 years, where you just going through all right, here we are. We got 12 minutes of doing this nonsense. Uh, but I'm going to go through the motions and I'm going to watch some other people and encourage them along the way, as they get further along and they get in this bar muscle up stuff. And, when I turned 50, I decided I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. I lost this 50 pounds, but I'm for real. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And I dialed in my nutrition like crazy. I got help from a nutritionist or a coach that could help me dial in my nutrition. And that getting that extra, I don't know what it was, maybe the few less LBs, maybe a few more pounds of muscle, whatever it was. But once I started to realize, holy cow, maybe this is possible, then, I just went after it. And I remember I had one session with Corey, who is the owner of CrossFit Xtra Mile, like as a personal training session. Like I need one-on-one help, and I want to get this dang thing.
Mhm.
And we did it. I didn't get my bar muscle up in that training session, but he gave me tips or tricks and drills to do. And I did that like clockwork according to the schedule that he gave me. And it was a week later, I got that first muscle up. And, I got to do it at my 6:30 class with all my friends around watching. And once you pop up there and you're above the bar and you're standing there and you're looking around, you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It was
That feeling.
awesome. Oh, it's
Oh my goodness.
amazing.
You're on top of the world. You're like, I've never
Yes.
been up here. What is this? This is
Yes.
incredible.
Wait a minute. You mean Coach Kristen got that on videotape? Where is it? Let's get it. I gotta post that.
I gotta see it. I gotta see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta
Oh
prove
my
to the
goodness.
world that I accomplished something in life. Oh,
That on those days you walk out of that gym and you're on cloud nine, right? And it's like, I was just talking about this with someone, like you got your first bar muscle up. Athletically, nothing's gonna change, right? Your life doesn't change. You don't have a sponsor calling you like, hey, heard you got your first bar muscle up. Why don't you want to come be a sponsored athlete, right? Like that's not gonna happen. But what's gonna happen, you tell me if you think this, right? Or if you have a spin on this, you're gonna leave the gym that day and your approach to work is going to be different. Your approach to your family life is going to be different because you're like, I put in the work on something that I didn't think was possible, and I showed myself, I proved to myself that I could do it. What else in my life do I have that I don't think is possible? That now I can take this energy, this belief in myself, that I can go attack and go prove to myself. So would you second that? Is that how would you put that? Is that
oh yeah. There's a phrase that Bruce uses because we use fitness to get better at life.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what you just described. Use fitness to get better at life. I mean, maybe it's probably more mental than it is physical.
Mhm.
Did I look like I was stronger walking out of the gym that day? Of course not. But I guess I built belief is what I built. And that belief eventually came because I put in the reps day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And eventually, like, like if I
Yes.
got to walk into the gym right now and do a bar muscle up, I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you proved it. And context wise, for someone listening who's like, oh, bar muscle up, that sounds cool. That same concept applies to, if you're when do an air squat to depth for the first time, right? If you're doing a push up, if you're doing a pull up, if you maybe haven't been able to do a burpee, right? Like there's so many different things and skills and things and movements and exercise weights, right? The first time you do a snatch and you're like, oh my goodness, I think I actually did that right. What just happened there, right? So we talked about that as it relates to pretty high level gymnastic skill. Um, but that concept applies all the way across the board on all the different things that we apply. And somebody, runs a mile for the first time, right? And they're like, holy, and then, a few months later, they come back. It's another, there's more running. And you're like, oh my goodness, I ran that faster than I ran in high school or something like that, right? It's like finding those little moments and I love that phrase. Like we improve our fitness, we train our fitness to get better at life because that's what it's really about, right? It's like what does things look like outside the gym? So For you, obviously, I know now you're also coaching. Yes, you're coaching and you are, working professional as well, right? So how does the fitness component and working on those skills and building that consistency, how does that benefit you in your work life, your personal life outside the gym? It's 1 hour a day in the gym, right? 6 hours a week, right? You got
Yeah.
so much more of your time outside of the gym. So how does that show up for you outside the gym?
Yeah. I would say that the other 23 hours out of the day are probably way more important than the 1 hour that's in the gym. You know, you can go into the gym and do everything right and then spend the other 23 hours outside of the gym and do everything wrong. And, where's that going to get me? Probably not too far. So, you know, doing working professionally and coaching people. I don't know how many people I have, maybe 15 right now that I coach. Most of them come from a place of they want to lose a whole lot of weight and they want to get fit and they want to chase their grandkids around and they want to be able to go and do whatever it is in life that they want to do. And I think that, I just love seeing people win. And the way that I, I help people win is by doing so, like setting the example, just exactly what you do. Show up every single day, try my darndest to get a win for the day. And people are watching. And I intentionally try to share my consistency on social media because a lot of times somebody that's coming into this journey or wants to start a fitness journey or wants to get healthy, man, it's hard at the beginning. And you might work really hard for a day or 3 days or a week, and the scale might go up 2 pounds. You're like, what the heck? Well, I give up. This stuff that it doesn't work. So I try and show that consistency is key. This whole thing. It's not about just having that one super duper hard workout. It's more about I'd rather have 7 mediocre workouts during the week than one where I just go crazy for 3 hours and burn everything down.
Yes.
I don't know. I've kind of strayed off your topic, but
No, no, not at all. No, that was great. That was great. And it's, I think showing your own pathway and showing your own journey like you do, your level of consistency, showing up each day, right? Sets that example on a wide scale for anybody that comes across it to say like it's possible. Like, yeah, I mean, you probably feel the sentiment. It's like if I can do it, you can too, right? And we all come from different backgrounds, and yes, it may be harder for you because of things that you have going on. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means you're gonna have to think, might have to think a little bit more creatively about how you get it done. But it can be done if you want to get it done. And so
yeah,
I think, like you said, setting that example and showing that, and showing how you approach it, right, is a really powerful way to do it. One thing, and you mentioned this earlier, and I'm curious, I'm going to tie this back together. So you mentioned as you were kind of earlier on before you got into, started thinking about health, and obviously that kind of got you into yo-yoing piece. You mentioned that one of the things that was a challenge for you was more of like being able to physically, as a dad, be, you know, active with your kids, running around, chasing them around. How do you feel that now, as you've evolved on this journey now, 11 years in, how do you feel that that's helped to reshape the example that you set now for your kids? Obviously, your kids are older now than they were at that period of time. But as they, obviously they've watched you evolve and go through that journey. How do you feel like that's changed your approach to setting an example for them? And what are the things that it's kind of a two-part question. What are the things that you hope that they take away from seeing you go through your own kind of transformation journey, if you want to call it that?
yeah. The one thing that is for sure is that your kids are way younger, but they're watching. They are so watching, and they're playing a video game, not paying attention, and you think they're not watching? They're watching. When they're young, they're watching. When they're adults, like mine are, they're watching. And this is one thing that I do know is that you can want something so bad for one of your kids or a friend or someone that you care about. But if they don't want it yet, if they're not ready for it yet, doesn't matter what you do. That you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You know how the saying goes. But they're eventually going to come across a time when they are ready.
Hmm.
And for me, it's important that I have my act together so that they feel comfortable to come and talk to me about health, fitness, getting their act together, and that has happened. My oldest daughter, she came to me and said, "Dad, what's up with this CrossFit Extra Mile?" She was thinking about joining a gym, and she actually ended up joining.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it only lasted for like a month, like 2 months. It wasn't really her thing, but all this time I'm thinking, is she paying attention? Is she paying attention? She was.
Yeah.
When she was ready, she came to Dad and asked, hey, tell me about this. Now she belongs to Planet Fitness. That's kind of more her type of thing. She asked me to get her some Ghost protein powder off of Amazon, use my Prime account, the other day. And so she's doing her thing in her own speed, in her own way. And so, whether your kids are 10 or they're 28, like my oldest daughter, still watching.
Yeah, they're always, it's recording, right? It's grasping, it's downloading information, right? It's like everything's going into that memory bank, and it's going to come back when when you expect it most or least, right? So it's a good frame of like, yeah, to make sure that you're doing the things that I don't like using the word should, that you want to be doing to get towards the results that you want to see. So that way, if it's your kids, if it's friends, if it's family, they come to you and they say like, "Hey, I'm kind of interested in doing that thing too. I see you've kind of got it together. Can you help me out, or can you point me in the right direction?" Right. So
Yeah.
that's powerful. And I'm sure, thinking back over that evolution of time, right, being able to have, like you said, just the being able to have that open door for your daughter to come talk to you. I'm sure just dad to dad, I'm sure that was a proud moment for you, or a happy
Yeah.
moment
Oh,
for you.
yeah.
Like, oh, yes, like this is what I was, you know, maybe not hoping or dreaming for necessarily, but like I'm happy that this worked out the way it did, because I'm glad you felt comfortable to come to me and didn't go, down the rabbit hole of TikTok or Instagram to find fitness information, because that's a rough world online there. So
Yes, it is.
that's awesome to hear. All right, I got one last question for you. I want you to picture that I give you wave my magic wand and put you in a time machine, and I send you back to the version of you that's in the middle of the weight loss challenges, right? And you get a chance to talk to a younger version of you about this CrossFit thing. Let's say they maybe heard about CrossFit. That seems weird, right? That seems odd. They're doing all these flippy, spinny things that look crazy and intimidating. That seems like you're gonna hurt yourself. But I give you a chance to sit down with yourself in that period of time and talk to them, give them that boost of encouragement to get a younger Jeff to go try out this CrossFit thing, start building the habits, start getting ingrained into the community. What's your message to that younger version of you?
Holy cow. um, Great question. Gosh darn it. Um, I wish, like, if I could have started this 20 years sooner, boy, how much better would I be at life than I am now? Not that I'm great at life, but if you can get your health together, if you can um, feel comfortable in a gym, boy, it just puts you so much further out ahead of other people. I think I'm going to answer this in a little different way. Sometimes you see young kids come into class, and by young kids, I mean like kids that are in middle school or high school, or I'll say middle school, and they're learning how to do lifts, CrossFit lifts the right way. Doing a back squat, pressing your knees out, doing all the hinging properly, and having the confidence and the knowledge to walk into a high school gym, already being comfortable doing those sorts of things. Boy, that's huge. The confidence of already knowing all that stuff before walking in with your peers would be amazing. And I never had any of that stuff. I was never intimidated. You know what? I would tell myself, it's okay to be intimidated. Just take the first step. Getting to the top of that mountain seems so far away. It's intimidating. Unfortunately, Jeff, you can't take a helicopter to the top of that mountain. There's only one way to get there, and it's by taking one step right now. And you're going to feel out of place. You're going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. Then you got to take the second step. And you go into it knowing you got to put your head down and get to work. The third day, you take another step. You turn around, you look back where you were on day one, and you're only 3 steps. It's no big deal. But you keep doing that for 30 days, 90 days, 180 days. You blink your eyes and you look back and you're halfway up the mountain. And you're like, holy crap, look how far I came. And one step at a time, I guess, is what I would say. Don't be intimidated. Get in the trenches and get it done.
That's a beautiful message. I love that. I love that visual. What you said, if you can't take a helicopter to the top, right? There's, who knows, 10, 15 years from now, modern science and the robots take over, right? There might be different, but for right now, right? There's only one way up that mountain. And I love that idea of just, it's one step at a time. Each day is one step, and it doesn't seem like a lot. Any one step doesn't seem like a big deal. It's the accumulation of those steps over time that make all the difference. So,
yeah. And the only way we lose in this whole thing is if you quit.
Yep.
We're going to have setbacks, jobs, relationship struggles, all the things, all the roadblocks that are going to try and stop you from getting to your 4 p.m. class at CrossFit North Scottsdale. Everything's going to come in the way. The universe is going to try and stop you from getting there. The only way you lose in this thing is if you quit. You stop showing up. You just got to keep fighting every day.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Jeff, my man, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Where can people find you if they want to follow along with the journey, see the consistency, see the crazy antics and the crazy birthday challenges that you put yourself through?
Right on. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Jeffrey.m as in Michael.Cooper. And our website is IamLargerThanLife.com. You can go on there, read my bio and all that fancy stuff. Make me look good. And I'll see y'all on Instagram.
On the Instagram. Thanks. Jeff, my man, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Marco. See you guys.
Have a good. See ya.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with a friend. To get notified of future episodes, please follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you can continue to hear these stories. For more behind-the-scenes content of everyday CrossFitters, follow on YouTube and Instagram at Silverback Media. Until next time, this has been the Silverback Media Podcast.